Today I'm going to show you how to can your own chickpeas. It's a great starter pressure canning recipe. I'm a newer pressure canner, so I thought it was a really great, easy, simple recipe to get started with. But also, you get to replace all of these and the waste of the packaging with your own jars, and you get to control what's in it. So it's great because especially if you're buying organic chickpeas, this saves you a ton of money versus buying these. And not to mention, you can control exactly what's in it. So you can add as much salt as you want, you could add seasoning, and then it's ready in exactly the way you want it to be. First thing you want to do is check over the chickpeas and pull any out that look gross. So this one is all white, this one's a bit brown, but these two are perfectly good. So I just kind of glanced through each handful as I put it into the pot, and these are the only ones I found that looked suspicious. I switched it to a bigger pot because I was running out of space. It was getting too big. So I drained the water out from before, put it into this pot, covered it with 2 inches of water, and now I'm boiling it for half an hour. So now that the chickpeas are cooked, you're going to put them in your jars. And you want to make sure that there's headspace between the neck of the jar and where your chickpeas are, and that your chickpeas are covered with the hot liquid from cooking the chickpeas in. If you don't have enough liquid, just add boiling water, and if you want, you can add salt, a 1/4 teaspoon to each quart-sized jar, but you don't have to. So when you can, you want to make sure there's no air bubbles, so use something non-metal. This is just a little plastic spoon, and just go around to make sure there's no air bubbles in it. You can add salt to all of these if you want, but you don't need to. It's not necessary for preserving it. I just added a little sprinkle of salt in each one. I wouldn't do more than 1/4 teaspoon, that would probably be too salty. So you want to make sure the rims are all clean, everything has to be clean, and then put your lid on, a new lid every single time, but you can reuse the bands. And then you want it to be finger tight. You don't want to be like hauling on it, just tight enough that it stays, and then they're ready to go into the canner. And don't worry, if you have a jar that doesn't fill all the way, that's fine. I'm going to process it, and then this will be the first one I use, so I'll probably just use it this weekend dinner. Make sure you have your plate down in the bottom there. You don't want your jars touching directly on the pressure canner. Now don't forget, beans can only be done in the pressure canner, and you need to have 3 inches of water before you put the jars in. If you're used to water bath canning, the amount of liquid in there might freak you out, but don't worry, it's different with a pressure canner, it's still safe. Then you're going to put your lid on and keep it at a medium-high heat. Don't put your weight on until the steam is coming through. So I don't know if you can hear how loud that steam is. Well, once the steam is coming out, very carefully, put your weight on. Once this is rocking gently, that's when you start your counting. So if it doesn't count right now, don't start your timers until that starts rocking. Here's what it looks like now that it's rocking. I can turn the heat down a smidge, but you want to make sure that it stays rocking. So now I'm going to start my timer, and I'll show you when it's done. When your timer's done, you can turn off the heat and, whoa, carefully take that off, and it releases all the steam. So now that the pressure is completely down, it's safe to open. You just carefully take everything out. Be careful, you can see it's still boiling in there. And you're just going to set them on a little tea towel, just a little bit of space in between them. And then tomorrow, you're going to take the rings off and check and make sure they sealed. It's the next morning, so I'm just going to take the rings off. To know that it's sealed, if you poke the top, you don't want to hear it click. And if you pick it up, like I'm holding it by the lid and it's on, that's how you know. There's a chance that even though this is perfectly sealed, that because it's more than half the liquid gone, that it didn't get processed properly. So I'm just going to use this one right away. If you want, you can just put it right into your fridge, or just use it as soon as possible.